22 News Studios. This is a Decision 2015 special program. Today, a debate with candidates for West Springfield Mayor. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Good afternoon. 22 News is working for you as we let the candidates you'll see on the ballot next Tuesday debate the issues. Today, it's the candidates running for mayor of West Springfield. And joining us today are State Representative Michael Finn, West Springfield Town Attorney Will Reichelt, and former West Springfield Mayor Greg Neffinger. First-term West Springfield Mayor Ed Sullivan decided not to seek re-election. As we go through the debate today, I'll ask the questions, and the candidates will have 1 minute to respond. First, each candidate will have a chance for one opening remarks, that is, for 1 minute, and the first candidate to go will be Will Reichelt. Will?
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, 22 News, for putting this forum on today. I think it's great to have an opportunity to speak with everyone in town. And I'm Will Reichelt. I'm running to be your next mayor. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about experience, and I think it's important to talk about that in the beginning. And I'll go in reverse. So last year, Mayor Ed Sullivan hired me, personally recruited me to be the town's first full-time in-house town attorney. 2 years before, I worked very closely as a full-time attorney for Mayor Cohen in Agawam. And before that, I served on for 8 years, I served on 4 different boards in town. Planning Board, Housing Authority, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and the Community Preservation Commission. In that capacity, I've gained intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the town, how government runs, and my leadership now as a town attorney is based on collaborative providing protection to the town on a day-to-day basis. I look forward to having this opportunity to talk about the issues today, and I look forward to providing more information about my leadership.
Mike Finn, your opening remarks, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Finn, candidate for mayor here in the town of West Springfield. I'm running for mayor now for the exact same reasons I originally decided to run for elected office to begin with, because I believe that everyone should have the same opportunities for success that I've had. Those opportunities are the ability to get a great quality education, the ability to get a job or to start a business, or the ability to retire in the community that you love. If elected mayor, I'll work to preserve our property values, expand our tax base, and spend our tax dollars wisely. But most importantly, my #1 priority will be to protect the character of the town of West Springfield. I've spent the last 13 years as an elected member of West Springfield's government, 8 years as a West Springfield city councilor, chairing many committees and becoming council president in 2010. And then in 2011, I became state representative, and I've been representing our town down in Boston ever since. I strongly believe that the combination of experience that I have in both municipal and state government will be a valuable asset to this community to move forward in a positive direction, and that's why I'm running.
Greg Neffinger, your opening remarks, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this debate. My name is Greg Neffinger. I'm running for mayor of West Springfield. I know that the people of West Springfield want to see results. When I was the mayor of West Springfield, we lowered taxes, reduced our spending, kept the library downtown, improved the trash system, and we've done many other things that I think the people of West Springfield really appreciate. I'm running for mayor because I feel like I have a lot more to contribute to the people of West Springfield. But every time you make changes, it makes people uncomfortable. People like to see improvement, but they don't like to see change. I feel like we need to communicate to the people of West Springfield better what our ideas are, get them to buy into it, form coalitions, allow city councilors to see those ideas before you present it to them, get department heads to buy into it, and as we begin to make improvements, we can create a positive environment so that people feel like it's not just one man, but we're all as a team working together.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now it's time for questions for the candidate. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. So we'll start off, and we'll go in this order with Mike starting off first. And here's the first question. As you watch the development of casino gambling in Springfield, how will you guide West Springfield for the effects of a casino in Springfield? And are there any second thoughts about West Springfield rejecting casino gambling?
I don't think that there's any second thought about West Springfield having rejected expanded gaming in the town of West Springfield. It goes directly to the major point that I've been stressing in this campaign. It's protecting the character of the town of West Springfield. But when it comes specifically to addressing the issues that are related to the MGM casino in Springfield, it's really got to do with two different issues. Number one, public safety. We need to have more officers on the street, more fire department members to protect, to prevent the influx of potential crime that may exist from that. And then number two is the impacts to our educational system. My wife is a school teacher at one of the local schools. My kids are attending the schools. Making sure that they have the resources that they need to be able to succeed is ultimately it's a paramount issue for the community.
Will, your response to the casino question?
Thank you, Rich. I think the casino is going to have a big impact on West Springfield. It is about 800 yards from the Rotary. And I've been involved locally first when I was on the planning board with the overlay district that was provided to prevent businesses that we didn't want in town. But also now locally I'm on the local advisory mitigation commission and also involved with handling the baseline studies that we have going on now to get ready for what may happen in the future. But I think it's going to be important to use our mitigation money from MGM to provide for additional police and fire, to be able to get ready for the likely influx that we'll have down there, as well as providing boots on the ground for the community to have an understanding of who's down there, that we are protecting them, we are looking out for them. I think that's going to be really important as we move forward, and it's going to be important to provide a safe community for our residents, provide a safe community for addiction problems and drugs. It's going to be really important as we move forward. Thank you.
Greg, your thoughts on the casino question?
Well, we know that public safety is going to be one of the primary concerns we have. Traffic is going to be second. I believe that the mitigation money from the casinos ought to be sent to public safety. We're going to have to hire more police officers. I was never in favor of casinos. I think it's a bad economic model, but now that MGM is coming to Springfield, we have to deal with it. I feel that as these things develop, we're going to have people talking to the police officers, the boots on the ground, to see what kind of impact do they see these things are having. And we need to work together with our department heads, our chief of police, in order to implement new ideas on how to keep West Springfield safe. Also, traffic is going to be a big issue that we need to deal with. Right now, West Springfield is a cut-through city. We need to deal with those various type of things to really keep West Springfield not only a safe place, but a place that you want to raise your kids and retire.
All right, Greg, thanks very much. Speaking of traffic, that's part of question number 2 right here. What about the influx of traffic because of the 91 viaduct project? And Will, you get to answer that one first.
The viaduct is going to push a lot of non-local traffic onto our local throughways, especially Route 5 and Route 20, which already has a significant amount of traffic now, as anyone knows. If they go down there around Christmas time, Route 5 can become a parking lot. So it's going to be important to provide early warning systems to our residents so they understand where the traffic backups are going to be, and use our social media and our websites to make sure everyone understands what's going on and where they should head. In addition, we're going to need to look at complete streets throughout town, provide the infrastructure improvement so that our roadways, as they have more impact, are reutilized, that potholes are filled, that they're taken care of, that our roads look good and also ride well. And going forward, I think that's going to also be important to fight blight throughout town and manage that traffic. So make sure that our town roadways, sidewalks, trees, parks, everything looks good as we move forward. That's going to be a huge impact of what people think that our government's doing for them, and they know that we are looking out for them and we are caring, that we are involved.
Greg Neffinger, your answer to the perceived traffic problems.
Well, we're expecting the 91 project to really be a disaster for the city of West Springfield. We need to have a plan in place so that we can mitigate those problems. The Mass DOT, the city of Springfield, the city of West Springfield, and other communities have to get together and talk about how we're going to solve all these problems. We're going to need more police officers. Right now, the special police, which most people know as auxiliary police, have been reduced, and I don't think that's going to be helpful. I think our traffic department in the police department needs to be revamped. It needs to be improved so that we can really deal not only with these new issues that are going to come up, but the traffic issues that we have in West Springfield right now. People speeding on Route 20. We had a pedestrian on Elm Street was killed recently. We've had other incidences on Piper Road. We need to be dealing with how traffic enforcement is handled not only now, but when MGM comes in. We're going to have a plan in place that's going to take care of that.
Mike Finn, your answer to the viaduct question problem.
Thank you, Rich. I think what's most important is when it comes to the 91 viaduct is that it's an opportunity. A lot of state monies are going to be coming into the area, monies that I've supported throughout my tenure here in the legislature, and I think it'll be a great opportunity for West Springfield to be able to apply for different grants that currently exist through the Mass Highway Division and MassDOT to be able to move forward. One of the things that I like to talk about most in my while I'm running for mayor is, that ability that I'll have to harness the relationships that I've developed over the last 5 years with the Massachusetts legislature. They're the ones that control the purse strings. I've worked, hand in hand with the state government now to bring resources back to West Springfield, and I think it's a matter of, knowing who to contact, working with the Gaming Commission to have them realize the different needs that we're going to have. And moving forward, I think it's my ability to, having had worked with the legislature will be a great asset to this community.
Okay, question number 3, and Greg, you have the chance to answer this one first. What are your plans for the continued protection of the Bear Hole watershed and possible future development or expansion of recreational activities there?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, that's an area that's very dear to my heart. I grew up on Westwood Drive, right off of Dewey Street, next to Rogers Avenue, next to Bear Hole Road. When I was a kid, there were no houses along that area. You could cross Dewey Street and we could walk all through the woods up there. When I was a kid also, you weren't even allowed to walk around the water shed proper where the reservoir was. It was all protected land. Now there's 2-foot deep ruts along the road. There's a lot of erosion going into the reservoir that's bad for the water quality. It's killing off the high oxygen fish in the area there. I believe that we can create passive recreation there, but we need to really enforce the damage that's being done. There's money from the state that's available also. I think from Bear Hole Reservoir to Route 90 and from Route 90 to Ashley Reservoir. I think we can create a controlled passive recreation area that would people would be able to use, but we would keep people from abusing it, dumping trash, and having off-road vehicles just going through there without any plan.
Mike Finn, your answer, please.
Thank you, Rich. I think one of the most important things that we have to discuss when we talk about Bear Hole and Mitten Egg Park and some of the other areas of the town that we have is the new carbon sequestration program that's going to be going on here in West Springfield. I personally secured the money, the $100,000, to get that idea off the shelf and into a state where we can move that program forward, and I think it's going to be fantastic for that area. The revenues that are going to be generated from this program, I think we can take those revenues to create a management plan for those areas and work with experts in the field. I think we should also take some of that monies to secure the purchasing of additional land along Morgan Road so that we can further buffer and protect the watershed. And lastly, I think that it's incredibly important that we continue to promote the passive recreational use of those lands. It's beautiful back there. I take my kids hiking and I go running back there all the time, and it's something that I want to see protected forever.
Will Reichelt, your answer to question 3.
I agree with Mr. Finn and believe that the carbon sequestration plan is important, and I've worked closely with Mayor Sullivan. He had a brilliant idea in putting that together, in working with both Holyoke and Westfield, who also have a larger share of the Bear Hole watershed. They don't call it Bear Hole, but it's the same stretch of land. And it's going to be important as we use that money to go forward and reinvest it in the area, reinvest it in making sure the trails are marked, making sure the trails are taken care of. There's access ways, and people are able to, that want to use it, are able to use it. But that's really a first step. After that, we're going to need to look at further conservation restrictions and additional protections to ensure that in 50 and 100 years, our ancestors, our children, their grandchildren, still have the same opportunities to use Bear Hole that we have. So carbon sequestration is going to be a great step, and Mayor Sullivan did a great job in starting that. And I've been happy to work alongside him and the other communities in getting that moved forward. And it's going to be great as we go forward to see what the other bidders are going to be able to offer us in addition. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, we're going to take a short 2-minute break and then more questions and answers for the candidates running for mayor of West Springfield. You're watching 22 News at noon.
From the 22 News Studios, this is a Decision 2015 special program. Today, a debate with candidates for West Springfield Mayor. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
And welcome back to the debate between the candidates running for mayor of West Springfield, State Representative Mike Finn, West Springfield Town Attorney Will Reichelt, and former West Springfield Mayor Greg Neffinger. They're answering my questions now, and we continue on with the questions. It's up to question number 4. Mike Finn, you'll go first. What do you think the town should do to address the opioid crisis?
Thank you. That is clearly one of the biggest crises facing Massachusetts. We've lost more individuals here in Massachusetts, the opiate addiction crisis, than we have in both Iraq wars. I mean, it's crippling the Commonwealth. One step that I've taken to directly try to impact that here in the town of West Springfield has been the introduction of what I believe is a great thing for West Springfield, which is a naloxone auto-injector program, so that families that are aware of their friends or children that are suffering from abuse can have a tool available to help prevent overdose. But I think it has to do with preventative measures in the schools, educating the kids. I think it has to do with treatment. We have to do a better job as far as like offering treatment, and on the state level we've taken many steps to do just that. And then the other thing is to embrace different technologies that exist in the medical field, such as the I apologize. Go ahead.
It's all right. All right, Will, your answer, please.
I agree that the opioid crisis is going to be a huge issue and is a huge public health issue in town. And as we go forward, I think it's really important to get a program similar to DARE. I had DARE when I was in high school and actually in elementary school. And I'd like to provide like a PEP program, prevention, education, and treatment as we go forward. Because it's important to get involved early, help young children understand what's going on and what they're facing, help them continue to be educated as they go forward, and if they fall into an addiction problem, then they're able to get treatment. Once you do become addicted, if you do have that personality or you do get involved in heroin or opioids, it's going to be recovery for life. It's not something you just get past and move on. You're going to need constant support and treatment. And that's a big part of what I want to do to provide for a safe community, is tackle that problem. It missed my generation really, but I've known much younger kids, my brother's age, that fall victim to it and have passed away. So it's going to be important to tackle that as we move forward.
Greg, your answer, please.
Well, Rich, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and that's just when people started experimenting with drugs and things of that nature. I have seen friends become addicted to various substances. When I went to the University of Minnesota to study architecture, I volunteered for 5 years in a halfway house working with people who were addicted to various substances, not only heroin, but other cocaine, alcohol, and various other issues. And I saw firsthand what these can do. I really believe that our teachers, who are very dedicated, they're one of the front lines of really reaching out to the kids in a caring way. And I think that's the most important thing, that kids need to know that people love them, they care for them, and really that there is hope. Even when things look down, that there are ways, there are avenues of improving your life. As Representative Finn said, the government is trying to tackle some of these, but really we need to have caring people who are touching our kids on a daily basis.
Next question, gentlemen, and Will, you get to answer this one first. Is it possible to lower taxes for West Springfield's homeowners and property owners?
I definitely think that should be our goal as we go forward. It's going to be important to look at ways to first increase our tax base, attract business to town, look at our ordinances and do a comprehensive overhaul of some zoning areas so that there's no longer going to be large-scale manufacturing in some of the buildings. It's going to be important to bring business, to bring advanced manufacturing, service industries that fit within the town's culture, the community's culture. And as we move forward, we want to attract those into town so that we'll spread out the tax base over more payers. In addition, we need to look at our spending, look at finding efficiencies, and develop plans that when we pursue a project, there's a funding source for the entire project. So it's not put on another administration to find new ways to fund it. And it's also important to develop our savings account so that we have money, so when issues like a tornado or something that was mentioned the other night, an unfunded liability comes through, we're able to handle it and not go to the taxpayers with our hand out and ask for more. We need to look at our funding sources to become a self-sufficient community.
Greg?
Well, taxes and spending are tied together. We need to expand our tax base, that's for sure, and we have new growth every year that brings in extra revenue to the city of West Springfield. But I'm the only mayor who's had experience lowering taxes and lowering spending in West Springfield. For 2 years in a row, we lowered taxes. The only mayor in Massachusetts to have done that. And I feel like we still have the opportunity to do it again. How do we do that? By looking at the budget We were overspending $1 million into the health insurance trust fund. We implemented the trash system. Now the new health care changes, that's saving another $1 million. I believe there's ways in our budget that we can lower spending and keep our taxes low. I was at a friend's wake, and the widow his mom was there talking to us, and she had her hand one hand in my hand and one hand in my wife's hand, and she was talking about what a great person her husband was. And as she's walking away, she said to me, "Greg, lower my taxes." And that's what I'm hearing across the city.
That's
People
time,
want to see
Mr.
their taxes
Neffinger.
lowered. Thank
That's
you.
time. Thank you very much. Now, gentlemen, we have time. Actually, Mike, you have a chance to respond to that
If I
first.
can.
Yeah, you can.
I'd
Your
enjoy
chance
the
to respond.
opportunity.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Rich. So I agree with both other candidates here. It's critically important that the goal of any administration be to keep taxes in check, keep our taxes in check, expand our tax base. Clearly, very important. But one of the things we have to remember when looking at any municipal budget is the amount of state aid that comes into that community. Currently, the West Springfield town budget is funded 28% by the state. If elected mayor, I'll be able to harness the relationships that I've developed over the last 5 years in the legislature to go after and increase that funding to make sure that we have every resource that we need and we deserve. You know, I've spent a lot of time making sure that West Springfield's voice has been heard in Boston, and as mayor, I'll continue to do exactly the same thing and bring those resources home.
Gentlemen, we have time for one more question. This time you only have 30 seconds to answer the question, just to stay informed here. Greg, you get the answer first. The question is, what's the first task you plan on completing once elected?
Well, thanks, Rich, for that question. As I mentioned before, I'm the only one here who has experience being mayor in an executive position. I'm ready to work for the people of West Springfield day one. The first object that a mayor has to do is he has to produce a budget within 4 months. I've done 2 budgets already of lower taxes, lower spending on both of those budgets, and that's the first task. Also, the second is to look at our police department, and I feel like we need to make improvements to our public safety. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Rich. I think the number one or first task that I would go after would be a top-to-bottom review of every single department to find out exactly where there are efficiencies that could be realized and how to do things better. You know, when we talked about the opiate addiction crisis and the naloxone auto-injector program that I wanted to bring to town, I've got a little bit of pushback on that, but I think it's important and it's something that we need to do.
Will? Thank you. I think it's good that I'm already in town. I'm going to provide some continuity as we move forward. And the big thing I'd like to do is work on a comprehensive overhaul of our ordinances, our regulations, to get it in place, and then also institute a business advisory board that can work with the town, work with departments, and provide a culture in town hall where we all can get the answers not that we want, but that we can help and move business forward. In addition, I'd work on the PET program for opioid addiction and work on that and getting it into our schools.
The candidates now have 1 minute each for a closing statement. Mike Finn, you go first.
Thank you. So I'm running for mayor of the town of West Springfield because, as I said earlier, because I believe that everyone should have the same opportunities for success that I have had. And for me, that means using the experience that I've gained in both municipal and state government over the last 13 years in West Springfield and putting all of that experience together and moving this town forward in a very positive direction. Nobody's got to explain to me on day one how our government works or how to build the budget, because I've done it on the town level for 8 years, and I've been this year been appointed to the Ways and Means Committee in the legislature, so I'm very familiar with how these things work and how to get things done. I'm the only candidate here that has that level of experience, and they'll be able to harness all of it to make West Springfield a great community to live in and work to protect the character of the town of West Springfield. Thank you.
Will Reichelt, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. I think after all we've heard over this quick half hour, I think it's going to be also important to take into account as we move forward through this election the candidate's character and work ethic. Because I believe that it's going to be important that the town selects a mayor that's going to make the tough but right decisions, and it's going to put in the time to support all the citizens of West Springfield, and I'll be that mayor. As I move forward, I'll be able to harness my experience this past year, and it will be by that time 1.5 years, working directly with the mayor and the department heads in the town hall, understanding the issues that the town faces. In addition, I spent 2 years working closely with Mayor Cohen over in Agawam, where I got to work closely in their negotiating team for unions and contracts, and also work on their budget team where we spent 2 years going through their budget. I think it's going to be really important as we move forward to tackle the opioid addiction in town and provide safe community and work on building strong schools as we move forward. So I believe it's important to take into account education and experience. I can provide both, and I want to be your next mayor.
Greg Neffinger, your closing statement, please.
Well, I believe the people of West Springfield are looking for results, and I feel like I was a mayor who provided results to the people of West Springfield. We passed a senior rebate, which allowed seniors to work and get lower taxes. We passed the veterans rebate, which allowed veterans to volunteer for the town and get lower taxes. We kept the library downtown. We produced a new trash system, brought $500,000 in to renovate Midnight Park. We want to make our schools top-level schools. We want to rewrite our zoning bylaws so things like Brandon's Treehouse can go forward without a lot of roadblocks. And if there's anything I would change, I would say that the way the Captain O'Brien situation was handled. If I knew then what I know now, Captain O'Brien would still be an officer in the West Springfield Police Department. I feel like the experience that I've learned, the contacts that I've made would help me make good decisions, even better decisions this time, and prevent such things like that occurring. So I'm Greg Neffinger, and I'm asking for your vote for mayor. Thank you.
That concludes our look at the candidates running for mayor of West Springfield. Our thanks to Mike Finn, Will Reichelt, and Greg Neffinger for participating. Next Tuesday, September 8th, is the preliminary election. If you missed any of today's debate, you can follow it again on wwlp.com. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're back here for 22 News at 5. Don't forget, we always have the latest news and weather updates 24 hours a day online at wwlp.com. Have a good afternoon. See ya.